Story 1. That everyone you hold close will one day be gone. Their laughter dims into silence. Their warmth lingers only in old letters, photographs, or the haunting echo of a familiar song recorded on a cheap camera. The stories, the little moments, the way they looked at you when the world was kind. All of it fades, slow and quiet, like mist at dawn. Nothing stays. Forests I once wandered are long gone. Rivers no longer follow the same path. Cities that once roared with life are now ruins swallowed by ivy and time. Languages, music, even the stars above. They all change, slip away, or are forgotten. The faces blur. The voices grow faint until you start to wonder if you ever truly knew them at all. And yet some trace remains. A name, a scent, a feeling that never quite leaves. That, I think, is the hardest truth, not just that everything ends, but that something inside you quietly carries it all, whether you want to or not. Story 2. You can give every fiber of your being to a person, and I do mean every single fiber, and they can still just leave. Story 3. Cosmic karma is not real. Bad things can happen to good people, and bad people do not necessarily get punished for what they have done. Story 4. Chances are you are not meant for greatness. You will not become extremely rich, become world famous, or do anything notable in history. You will most likely be completely forgotten after your immediate family passes. In a way, accepting that is liberating. You do not need to dedicate your life to some cause or obsession. You can focus on enjoying the little time you have on this earth, doing things you love with the people you love. Who cares what anyone else thinks? You are having fun. Story 5. I am aging, and it is really starting to happen now that I am approaching 50. I cannot eat the same foods or stay up all night gaming or watching movies. I will never be as strong, fast, handsome, or able to learn as quickly as I used to. Story 6. It was painful when my ex spent almost all my money and then took half of what was left during the divorce. I was unexpectedly left to be the single dad to a 10-year-old girl for several years when my ex moved to a sunny, fun place overseas. None of this helped me reestablish or build my own career. Her mother returned to the country with a new career and money and became the fun mom who had horses. My daughter, who is now 16 years old, has announced she wants to go live with her. Story 7. I am the only one who can drive success in my life. Nobody is coming to hand me the keys to a good future, and they never were. 20% of the world is full of top performers. 60% is of average people who all think they are special, and the last 20% are individuals who drag everyone and everything down for personal gain or because of personal incompetence. Story 8. I am broke, my family is broke. There is no life insurance or inheritance on the way, and I will be working just to manage to get by until the day I die. Story 9. Only one man and one woman want to see you do better than them, and they do not last forever. Once they are gone, your unconditional support will leave with them. Story 10. I am never going to achieve my baby boomer dream of happily ever after. Growing old with a wife and family, surrounded by my grandchildren on my deathbed. I would be fortunate to live until age 75 and not die in a derelict building or in my car. Story 11. No one in this world cares about you, and most of your friends would rather binge the new streaming show than answer the phone when you call. Story 12. My window has closed. I once had a chance to do great things and live out my passion as a career, but my early 20s self was not kind to my future. I am now relegated to a limited version of my passion, and it makes it hard to enjoy. Story 13. You can do everything correctly and still lose, while your friends and acquaintances cut corners and engage in illegal practices and still succeed. Story 14. Children die and our son is never coming back. We will never be able to see him take his first steps, speak his first word, or watch him grow up. I miss him every day. Story 15. There was only a brief period in my life when I was happier than sad, and no matter what I do, I can never go back. Story 16. I have stage 5 kidney failure, and I am probably going to die in the next 5 years. My health is nowhere near good enough to get on the transplant list, and I doubt I will be well enough to reach it in time. Story 17. I cannot overcome schizoaffective disorder by mind over matter. I am trapped in this cycle until I die. Story 18. Only you have the ability to change your situation. Nobody is going to do it for you. Yes, you can ask for help, but ultimately you have to make the change by taking the first step. The first step is always the hardest. Story 19. My cat was ready to pass on. We were supposed to have a week together before I said goodbye, but he declined significantly in just 48 hours. I knew he was ready. I said goodbye this past Monday. Story 20. I have always been the black sheep of my family. Years ago, when my father remarried, he told me, I don't need you anymore. I have her, my stepmother, and her daughter for a family. No matter how many times he has apologized to me, I know he meant that. Story 21. No matter how hard I work or study, many doors will remain closed to me, and there is nothing I can do about it. Story 22. We are not all going to be rich, marry the most beautiful person, or become the boss. The world follows a bell curve, and you are most likely in the middle. The biggest truth of all is that it is okay, and there is nothing wrong with you. Story 23. 1. The world does not want me unless I am working. 2. Hobbies will dictate who you are as a person in everyone else's eyes. No, it will not be a fair assessment. 3. I love video games, and that makes me unattractive even if I am responsible with my time. Story 24. That my parents will die, and I will not be able to talk to them anymore. Even writing this makes my eyes fill with tears. Story 25. I have missed many brilliant opportunities. Opportunities are fleeting, as is life itself. If you are young and have a talent, do not squander it. If you are young and have a wonderful opportunity with a potential partner, be very careful about making that decision. Do what gives you peace. Story 26. It is a cold world out there. Too much greed, corruption, ignorance, arrogance, and not enough humility. It is never going to get any better. Story 27. Of all sad words of both tongue and pen, the saddest are these, what might have been. John Greenleaf Whittier. Story 28. Nobody will care about or understand you more than you care about and do for yourself. Not your family, partner, sibling, or friends, no one. You can make this either good for you or bad for you. When you are rejected or fail, nobody tells you why. If you are not psychic, your life will become a progressively intensifying loop of rejection until you learn what you did to cause it, with zero help. If you ask for clues, people will either punish you or offer insincere and ineffective information, then either leave or work behind your back to get you fired because they find it fun to hurt and sabotage others. This gives them an excuse to show their true nature when they think nobody is looking. It makes them feel that you are inferior to them. People love to make others feel inferior to them. They will likely consider you an easy target and make your life unnecessarily difficult. The number of differences and othering traits you have multiplies the likelihood that this loop will become your reality by the time you are fired from your second job. The worse it gets, the worse others treat you, which means if you do not undergo a complete transformation to fit the majority group, your income will drop faster relative to inflation. This does not end when you want it to. Nobody will truly be fully there for you. Amid all these dynamics, you have to learn to love yourself more than you feel you are worthy of so you have the fuel to prove the haters wrong. There will always be haters throughout your life. The haters will do things to convince you that you are unworthy of love, money, housing, security, food, rest, work, and dignity. When they do, your only hope is that you are smarter and more mobile than them. You usually will not recognize the haters until it is too late. You will have to go beyond your personality simply to survive, let alone thrive. Religion is a business, and the business is you. Love alone is not enough to fix a relationship. The person you love the most might secretly hate you for decades. The person you hate the most might be the closest thing you can consider a friend, a lover, or a spouse. Everything we live on was created by people. There is no objective standard. Nobody is ultimately in charge. Every day it is just you, and that can be either varying degrees of good for you or varying degrees of bad. Story 29. Lately, I have started to realize that I can no longer choose the same people, outings, or activities if I want any sense of stability or success in my life. I am 29 years old. I am finally able to hold and excel at a well-paying job. It feels like I am losing a part of myself in the process. Story 30. Not everyone has the same heart as you do. Things you would never imagine doing to another person may be something someone else would not hesitate to do to you, unfortunately. Story 31. No matter how real you feel to yourself, how much pain you experience, how much you suffer for others, you will always be just another person to everyone else. Story 32. It was my past relationship. I thought I had a purpose with a new family, so to speak. They were stepchildren, but I loved them as if they were my own. Finally, I found out I was just the punchline of a sick joke. In a nutshell, imagine feeling like you finally have a purpose in life and that you matter, only to discover you were living in a fantasy and everyone was laughing at you behind your back. Story 33. Every moment brings you closer to death, and most of it is wasted. Being on Reddit is a prime example. Story 34. I am bad at something I really wanted to be good at. I am really bad, and it does not look fixable. I spent a long time not knowing this. Story 35. I will never be part of a big, happy family. I am happily married with 2 sons who are now adults and doing well. We have a tight nuclear family, which is great. My wife and I have many great friends and are very busy socially. Neither of us gets along well with our families. It is not that we do not try. We put in the effort, but they do not care to reciprocate. Our children know their aunts, uncles, and cousins, but we are just not close. Story 36. You are alone. You can have the support of your loved ones, but you are truly alone. No one is there to help you. No one is there for you, and if anyone says they are not being honest. The only true unconditional love I have seen and experienced is with my father who, though sometimes conditional, truly wants to see me succeed and gives me everything, with only the expectation that I do well in life. Your partner also depends on you for stability. They will support you through tough times, but at the same time, they are not your everything. You are the one responsible for your mental health, your physical health, and your circumstances. You cannot blame anyone or anything for yourself, because the fact that you can post here tells me that you can change your life. That mindset changed me for the better because I realized there is no hand coming in to pull me out. There are only these 2 hands that can help pull myself out. Story 37. Perhaps we all give the best of ourselves to people who hardly even think about us. E.B. White. Story 38. People do not have as good a heart as I do, but they will take advantage of it. Despite that, I will never stop being good. Story 39. The luxury of having a free life comes with many sacrifices and pain, which ultimately provide no value to freedom. Story 40. I will never live the American dream. It consumed the vast majority of my thoughts back in the 1990s and 2000s. But after the recession and working my first job, I finally realized that this is it. I am going to go to school, accrue debt, and never be able to pay it off until I am near the end of my life. Story 41. I kind of struggle as a person, and most of my problems have been related to that. However, things were not as bad as I thought they were. It was a difficult realization for my fragile ego. But the positive side is that I can stop being that way, and my life does not have to suffer because I am making mistakes. Story 42. My mom told me this when I was a teenager and wanted to work. She said, I wish you did not want to work. Since you are a man, you will be expected to work for the next 30 to 40 years. Why do you want to start right now? Go enjoy life and your free time while you can. It was not really painful to hear, but when it is explicitly stated like that, it takes some time to digest and accept. Story 43. Most things in my life are my fault, and I have no one else to blame. This was years ago, but it was a hard perspective to change. Story 44. No matter how much I am over the way I was treated by my parents, even though they apologized and I forgave them, it will still hurt at the weirdest times or the smallest triggers. Story 45. I made a mistake by spending years married to and investing in someone who was never able or willing to grow together. Story 46. Yes, the married the wrong person situation. I was with my ex-husband for 25 years and married for 23 of those. He never loved me, And in the end, we divorced because I discovered he was cheating on me. I spent half of my life with him, so moving forward was a big struggle. 7 years later, I am in a good spot now and realize how much neglect and gaslighting I tolerated for far too long. Story 47. This is probably the most attractive I will ever be, and I will most likely never be the handsome man I have always wanted to be. Story 48. Nothing matters. Yes, personal and subjective importance can be given to things, and I do not doubt that. Some might argue that this is the very meaning of our existence. Finding and giving meaning. But on an evolutionary scale, we are absolutely unimportant to this planet, this galaxy, and the entire universe. No matter how much we pollute the planet, it is bad and can cause suffering for many beings. However, in a few thousand years, it will be as if we never existed. Or in a few thousand centuries, for that matter. It makes no difference on the greater scale. We are just not important. God knows we pretend to be and tell ourselves it would be otherwise. But we are not. Story 49. No one will care for you as much as your parents. Once they are gone, you are essentially alone with no one to fall back on, no matter what you have done. Your children will move on to their own families. Your spouse is no guarantee. Story 50. There are far more people who will dislike me, and of those who do like me, even fewer genuinely care. Of those who genuinely care, only a fraction will be around for a long time. Build your circle wisely. I made many mistakes in that area throughout my 20s and early 30s. Story 51. As an autistic man, my main aspirations of having a loving marriage and being a successful actor feel hopeless. Story 52. I can only truly rely on myself. I cannot have many expectations of people, even those I consider very close to me. Often, I put in much more effort than I receive in return. Story 53. The world is inherently unequal, and hard work can only partly remedy that. You can be the hardest worker in the world, or at least that you can be, and still fail because someone else is inherently more intelligent, attractive, creative, talented, or skilled and could achieve twice the results with half the work. They may have been born into wealth and influence, while you had none of those advantages. At the end of the day, when they are higher up on the social hierarchy, they will still moralize about how you have to start at the bottom and work your way up, despite never having had to do that themselves. People will applaud them and look down on you for not getting as far, even if you ended up producing far more value per unit with the tools you were given. You still have to find and maximize the areas where you are good and try to improve in the areas where you lag behind, especially if those areas are important. However, success is not guaranteed, and there is a possibility that in some pursuits your results will be poor or non-existent. Story 54. You may be the only one still believing you are not old. And then one day, I am too old for this becomes part of your life. Opportunity windows close and you miss them, realizing nothing significant happened during the last months, years, or decade. Story 55. My mother is a very toxic and mentally ill person. My father will always be distant and uninvolved. My grandfather, who was my best friend, is never coming back. My grandmother will work until she dies. I may never see my children again. Death will always seem easier. Story 56. You know when people keep telling you, don't ever let anybody tell you that you can't do it, just go for it? Well, they never mention the second part, but it's not a guarantee that you will ever succeed. Story 57. Behind all the attractive images and showing off on social media is the fact that some of these people truly have a better life than you and always will. Sorry. Story 58. This is the body I have, and I am going to live in it. I am not a fan already, and age is going to take the few things I do not dislike. Story 59. That I may never be able to retire. I am a social worker, and the only job near me with a salary that I can actually raise my children on does not pay into Social Security. I was only in the workforce for about 5 to 6 years before I took this job, so I do not have the 10 years of work credits needed to collect benefits. I check job postings regularly, but I physically cannot afford the pay cut I would have to take to work at any other agencies in my region that do pay into Social Security. I still have a significant student loan balance on my bachelor's degree, so a master's degree is out of the question to open up options. I cannot start over in a new field again because of the pay cut and the need to keep my earnings as high as possible. So, yeah, I am probably going to have to work until I die. Story 60. Even though my wife left me and I did everything I could to save the relationship, many people will blame me. Story 61. If I get a divorce, I will lose my kids, my relationship with them, and my influence and values will be degraded and corrupted forever. So all I have to do is keep up the pace, be what they need until they are older, and do everything to be their role model and teach them my values. As a man, I will always be secondary as a parent according to the law. That is unfortunate. Story 62. There is not enough in the world for everyone. There will always be people whose bare minimum needs are not met while the elite have more than anyone can count. This huge divide will exist regardless of the system, whether socialism, capitalism, or others. Story 63. My generation isn't the one that throws cookouts and get-togethers anymore. Everyone meets up, orders pizza, and gets very drunk. I miss the old-school vibe from when I was a kid. Story 64. All of our words and works will eventually be erased in the inevitable heat death of the universe. In the big picture, nothing is of eternal value, and it is up to us to find meaning and do right by it in the time we have. Story 65. I have experienced a few. One reliable way to make money is to do something most people do not want to do. Following your bliss is not good practical advice. You might be inspirational, but you cannot fit 100 pounds into an 80-pound bag. Some people are beyond help. You cannot fix broken people with love. The idea that all you need is love is simply not true. Prayer and faith have some value in keeping you in line and making you a helpful presence, but at the end of the day, they do not work or influence anything beyond the impact you have on others by being a devoted, kind, generous, and selfless person. Story 66. Once I was no longer useful to my mother. She disowned me, lied to the entire family about me, and is trying to take my son so she can receive an $1,100 check each month. Story 67. Life is an endless series of transactions. It is not always money being exchanged. It can be time, energy, emotions, labor, and so on. Story 68. Even after I have worked on myself, been upfront, and apologized for my actions, my ex does not want me back. Story 69. I will never be a kid anymore. I like being an adult in many ways, but I do miss not having any responsibilities or real worries and being able to hang out with friends and family all the time. Story 70. Despite going to rehabilitation for different times, my father really does not want to quit drinking. Even though it has completely changed our relationship and I no longer let him be alone with my children, it is not enough to get him to stop. Story 71. A couple that come to mind. People don't want truth. They want comfort. Being good does not mean you will be treated well. You could do everything right and it still will not matter. People project their issues onto you constantly. Love does not guarantee permanence. People are replaceable. Story 72. No one is coming to save me. I have family I can call, but for the most part, I am on my own. There is no safety net, no guardian or guide. Everything has a price, and without some sacrifice, you will end up nowhere. Story 73. You cannot make a boyfriend or husband a better man by being the perfect or ideal woman. They will be who they are regardless of how hard you try. Story 74. My 34-year-old husband was diagnosed with glioblastoma multiforme, a terminal brain cancer. If he underwent a craniotomy to remove as much of the tumor as possible, followed by radiation and chemotherapy, his prognosis was 6 months with questionable quality of life. This is the most heartbreaking and devastating truth. Story 75. The further you get from 18 years old, the less women care about who you are on the inside and the more they focus on what you have accomplished in your life. Story 76. Nothing is real. We all make up this story in our heads and run with it. Everything is made up. Everything. Story 77. While I have had some successes that are far-reaching for my family, I have also had some failures that are equally far-reaching. Story 78. In the end, it is me and myself. I am still responsible for my health and my actions. It will be my fault when I make wrong choices. It will be my fault that I let those mental problems go unchecked, which led to wrong actions. No excuses. I will be an adult and I should know better. It is me. Just me. Story 79. You are not going to change the world. The best you can do is to change the small, very small portion of it around you, and even that is not guaranteed. You can help a few people in your life, and the best you can hope for is for one of these people to remember you after you die. That is what will make your life worth living. Story 80. I am not the kind of person who gets to experience love. It is difficult, but there are countless people throughout history who have gone through life without finding someone special to share their life with, even temporarily, and I am destined to be one of them. There is always going to be an impenetrable barrier between me and the people I might otherwise fall in love with, whether it is circumstance, distance, or simply a lack of mutual interest. So I just live my life, if you can call it that, and wait for the day when I no longer have a life to live. That is all I can really hope for, and all anyone can ask for at the end of the day. Anything more is just extra, and I missed the opportunity, as it were. Story 81. I will never regain full function of my right leg after the incident. It is at 75%, so I can still walk, run, and jog, but I can never run fast again or kick a ball properly. Story 82. This is the actual world. A world that will kick you when you are down. A world of hell, not in a biblical sense, but of human construction. I always thought that I died in my main universe or timeline, but woke up in another universe or timeline where I survived my accident. Since it happened more than 10 years ago, I realized that I can no longer use that excuse. Most people are only self-interested. I stopped getting depressed a while ago, but my darkest thoughts want everything to burn. Story 83. I am still young, but there are people winning National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing races younger than me. I have missed the boat. I am not upset about my future, but it hits hard that those little kid dreams are dead. Story 84. Nobody is going to love you exactly how you want to be loved. Nobody is going to care for you exactly how you want to be cared for. Nobody is going to do exactly what you expect, and you cannot predict every outcome. I do not know, being autistic, this was a hard truth I had to accept. I like stability, and I had to learn that other people generally will not give me that. Then again, I am hard to deal with due to all my niche quirks and obsessive-compulsive disorder tendencies. So I get my stability from myself. I know what I will do, I can predict myself, and I can control what is in my control. Setting up a routine has been very helpful. Story 85. No one cares if you are struggling mentally. No one wants to know your story. Nobody wants to know your reason why. Sometimes, not stepping up in one moment can ruin the possibility of a beautiful relationship forever. Let go of whatever is in your mind. Step up, show up. Story 86. The majority of humanity is greedy, and half of the world population are complete idiots. The human race is embarrassing. Secondly, there are fewer people than you have fingers who truly care about you. This is the most painful truth I know. Story 87. Edit. I forgot what subreddit this was when I posted this comment. Sorry everyone, but I am sure some of you agree that this is also true for men. One day, the ones you love will die. Not only your significant other, but also your parents, pets, siblings, friends, and others, and you will never see them again in this life. All the arguments and bad moments you had with them will become meaningless. You will wish for one more chance to be in their presence one last time. Story 88. As the youngest son in the family, I accepted that I will most likely outlive my parents, brothers, and sisters. I will truly be the last one in the family to die. Story 89. Ultimately, I am on my own in this world. Now that my mother is deceased, there is no one who truly has my back no matter what. I am married and have friends and family, but when it really comes down to it, my husband could leave me if I upset him. My friends could lose touch. My mother was the only one who put my needs first, and she is gone. I have to support myself. Story 90. Sometimes people you love the most will end up hurting you the most. Even if you love them, you cannot forgive them. Story 91. Autism, dyslexia, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder have been the bane of my existence. I have had to struggle over a mountain of my so-called peers who did everything they could to actively sabotage me. The life I have managed to carve out is in a poverty-ridden place. And that is not even counting the extra level of difficulties I have to deal with daily. Story 92. Heartbreak from betrayal. The raw emotions were overwhelming. I didn't want to eat or sleep. I didn't want to be in my own skin. The thought of it and what I thought we had, who she was all an illusion. You could fly a jumbo jet through the hole in my chest. Story 93. You will regret not taking a shot much more than missing it, especially when you learn it was lined up for you to take. Story 94. There is no cure for human ego, especially when mixed with envy and petty jealousies. Even within families, some people believe only they should be successful, and if you try to outdo them, they must find a way to bring you down. Story 95. What I did to her was unforgivable, and I had to try my best to ignore the ring on her finger after she visited me and forgave me. Story 96. We live in a world that is in a gigantic, overstretched economic bubble. Even though I just graduated and I am now a doctor at 23, I know that in a few years' time, things are radically going to go haywire in ways that people are not expecting as a price they pay for the ignorance they have accepted. In saying this, while things will go haywire and entire swaths of people and families get destroyed, this will create new kinds of opportunities that will allow people to do things they previously could not. I will most probably see a lot of people lose much, maybe nearly everything they have, but it will potentially allow me, in the long term, to get myself into a secure position. Story 97. Being hypersexual plagued me when I was in my teens and 20s. I felt like something was wrong with me for fantasizing about sex all day and masturbating 6 times per day. But I have come to embrace my sexuality and do not see it as an affliction. Story 98. People you want to trust and believe are liars and cheats. They will make you doubt yourself if you let them. They will watch you self-destruct while continuing to lie and manipulate you. Story 99. As a man who is below average height and not very handsome, I need to reach less than 15% body fat to be physically attractive to at least some women. In my naturally strong and chubby state, I am invisible. Story 100. Men have value as long as they are able to design, create, build, produce, and maintain something of value. Once that is gone, you are gone. That is it. Story 101. People change and attraction or love towards you can diminish, leaving you to watch others come and go. Growing up, I never had my person because I was alone a lot. Now that I am almost 30, it does sting and constantly changes my perspective on life and the world. However, I have to remind myself that people change, and I myself can and will change. Story 102. Friends come and go. You will fail more times than not. People who live like they are rich online either are not or are engaging in illegal activities to some degree. Story 103. No one is going to love me like my mother. Absolutely no one. Her love is the only unconditional love. Every other has been transactional. Story 104. Our country is turning into a fascist mess, and many people are okay with it. Our president is a convicted felon and a rapist, but that is accepted because he hates people of color and women. Story 105. My wife will die soon after recently being diagnosed with terminal cancer at age 32 while still nursing our second child. Cancer is devastating. Hug your loved ones. Story 106. I'm sure I will get downvoted, but only women, children, and pets are loved unconditionally. Men are loved only for their contribution of value or utility, usually their financial support. Chris Rock said this in one of his stand-up performances. Story 107. I am 36, single, and probably will always be, and that is okay. Not everyone is meant to have a happily ever after. I am happy for those who did get their families and children. I am happy for you, but I have to accept that it will not be me. Story 108. There are two. 1. My business is not going to succeed. No one actually cares. Just pursue money and get as rich as you can as quickly as possible. Story 109. I was in denial for years about my weight until one day I took my shirt off and stared at myself in disbelief, then weighed myself. I am still overweight. I hate it but accept it now and can even joke about it. I am not proud of it, but I am learning to live with it. That's about it. Story 110. I am lost now more than ever. After losing my job, which I was certain would be my career, in a layoff last week, my life has been reset back 3 years. I am once again at square one with no idea what I will do next. Story 111. That my father will always be distant, emotionally unavailable, and barely notice I exist. My grandmother's death. That I will never be the person that people include in their friend group. They like me, but from far away. Story 112. Even though I did not consciously intend to manipulate and control people, that is exactly what I was doing every time I had anxiety. I feared an outcome, so I spoke in a way to get people to do what I wanted them to do. Story 113. That I will never again know the touch of a woman. That I will die alone and forgotten in some dark corner of a veterans hospital. Story 114. The rest of my life will more than likely be filled with civil war, death, and destruction. My dream of finding a wife and growing old is nearly unattainable. Story 115. There is no God. I will never explore space like my hero Captain Jean-Luc Picard. The man I am is all I have. I will never travel back in time or far into the future. I will never meet an alien from space. Story 116. The United States is sliding toward authoritarianism. I do not think anything else in my life has been so disturbing on such a fundamental level. Every belief I have held about my home country throughout my entire life is being challenged. Story 117. That America is actually the evil empire we say we are fighting against. I have wondered about it for a long time, but now I cannot rationalize any other reality. Story 118. Evangelical Christians and other forms of conservative Christianity either tend to behave unkindly or end up supporting harmful causes. They play a significant role in making the world a worse place. Story 119. I'm just going to be completely honest. Many women are not the beautiful, heavenly creatures incapable of doing wrong that I once thought they were. I learned that the hard way many times. They can be just as deplorable and ugly as men if they choose to be. No offense, but my naivety was slowly chipped away bit by bit over 30 years, and I have stories to prove it. Sometimes I wish I could see things that way again, but unfortunately, the veil has been lifted. The most beautiful woman has the ability to destroy you if you are not aware of these realities. That's life. Be careful out there, boys. Story 120. I fear the country I am living in is headed down a road of no return. And while it is a huge deal, I feel like most of the country does not care or is ignorant of the fact. Story 121. People do not find God. They find a justification for their behavior and call it God. It is convenient that the most hypermaterialistic and xenophobic people on this planet have a holy book that says nobody is allowed to judge them except God. For every single person who converted or was saved or whatever term you choose to use, there is a person who just traded one hyperfixation for another. Story 122. I will, for everyone else's sake, die alone. I cannot create a positive, lasting relationship, and it is me. I cannot change. But I can stop and spare others the trauma. Story 123. That I wasn't okay and that I had some issues to work on. That I wasn't, in fact, part of the reason why some of my relationships failed. Story 124. Contrary to the position of Dean Wormer, being overweight, intoxicated, and unintelligent is a preferable existence at this point in history. Story 125. The ending to Dexter was so painful I can't even remember what happened. I only feel the extreme disappointment that it caused. I guess the Game of Thrones ending would be up there too if I had actually watched it. I was waiting for the whole series to be finished before watching the ending. Once I heard the ending was bad, I decided never to watch it. Story 126. I have no reasonable option but to give up forever on what was most important to me. Nothing is left but crumbs that cannot sustain me. I will continue on until I die, never fulfilling what I needed most. All the while, nobody really knows or cares about the magnitude of this loss. Story 127. The United States is becoming a fully fascist government, and a large portion of the population accepts this. Story 128. I will never find love or a relationship, and nobody will respect my bipolar disorder unless it kills me. Story 129. No one saves lives. All we do is extend life. We all die. Everyone in the future dies. We are all in line waiting to die. If everything ends, what is the point of anything? What good is doing good going to do? Anything you do is for someone who dies. Also, sex is not intimacy. No one walks away knowing someone better. It is just a temporary high. There is no such thing as true love. It is something we make up in our brains. Some of us just get lucky and find someone who does not challenge that belief. Looks like I need to add an edit with all these downvotes. Just because I challenge the point of being good does not mean I am suggesting doing bad. Life is not black and white. If you do not understand what I am talking about, it probably means your existence has not been challenged. Congratulations. I got really sick about 3 years ago. I was at death's door twice before I got my diagnosis and treatment. When your body is failing you, your brain releases hormones that give you a deep sense of doom. Ask someone who has had a heart attack. My disease is type 1 diabetes. I was sick like that for months before it was figured out. So I sat in that doom much longer than a person experiencing a heart attack. My experience is a little different than many with life-threatening injuries. After the diagnosis, I suspect I was experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder from it. Waking up at 4 a.m. with that sense of doom of my existence and inescapable death. Then, for months later, my goddaughter was murdered. She was only 20 months old. It might not be everyone's truth, but it is mine after my experience. I find peace in knowing there is no point in life. I find peace in truly understanding that we all will die. I no longer have to live my life to please anyone because there is no point. I no longer have to fear death because we all have to experience it. It only happens once, then it is over forever. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.